To all those people out there who've watched one of my videos and have said something like, oh, I don't like this guy, he's kind of too over the top, he's loud, why is he constantly screaming? Well, I have one thing to say to you. Why are you not entertained?
I remember that day. I never forgot it. That a slave could take revenge against an emperor.
Where were you born?
I don't know. I never knew a mother nor a father.
You will be my instrument.
Who are you?
Gladiator II comes to us from director Ridley Scott and is being released 24 years after the original Oscar-winning epic. Years after witnessing the death of the revered hero Maximus at the hands of his uncle, Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum after his home is conquered by the tyrannical emperors who now lead Rome with an iron fist. With rage in his heart and the future of the empire at stake, Lucius must look back to the past to find strength and honor to return the glory of Rome to its people. Well, the fact that I saw this as a Monday mystery movie really worries me that the studios don't have any hope for this. But at the same time, I don't care because I gotta see this shit early. So let me just start off by saying that this is not gonna be a review from someone who has nostalgia for the first Gladiator because it hasn't even been a week since I first watched it. But as for my thoughts on it as a first time viewer, I freaking loved it. I was afraid going in that outside of the Colosseum battles, the rest was gonna be kinda boring. But no, it's all around a great action epic that I just got lost in and I was never once bored with. The action, the performances, and Ridley Scott's excellent cinematography and directing make this one of the great action epics, and I definitely see why people still love it after all these years. But despite loving the hell out of the first film, and this was before even seeing it, I really didn't see the point in a Gladiator II. I mean, the story ended perfectly with Maximus passing on to the afterlife and then being with his wife and child. At what point did anyone think, sequel, that needs a sequel? And on top of that, the trailers really didn't do anything for me to get me excited to watch either movie. But here's a fun little thing I've been doing recently. It's called going into movies with low expectations, even if you're excited for them. And from my experience, it's worked. And that's exactly what I did with Gladiator II. But the question that some of you may be asking is that of, is Gladiator II the Top Gun Maverick of the Gladiator films? No. But did I have an absolute blast watching this that was probably held by my low expectations? Hell fucking yeah! First off, it just amazes me how, at his age, Ridley Scott is actually able to make a movie of this size and scale. The scope of this picture is absolutely breathtaking, and every shot feels like a lot of passion and effort went into making sure that this was another groundbreaking epic. But with this being the sequel to a very popular movie that a lot of people adore, you know that they had to make this movie more epic than the first, and they definitely don't take their time with getting you to Rome. The first film took its time with getting you to the fights at the Colosseum, and while I do prefer that approach so they can set up more of the dilemma, there is that side of me that also just wants to get to the action, and with this being the sequel, I'm okay with that here. The performances were all around fantastic. While Paul Mescal is no Russell Crowe, he's still great as Lucius, and I was actually really hooked when it comes to his story, and I wanted to know how it's all going to play out, even if it starts off awfully familiar. After a battle, he loses a loved one and is then sold into slavery to fight as a gladiator in the Colosseum. Man, where have I heard that before? But the standout for me, and probably everyone else, had to be Denzel Washington. His character is everything you want in a memorable villain. He's conniving, he's charismatic, and just all around funny, and I love every moment that he was on screen. Plus, it's Denzel Washington. Who's gonna disagree that Denzel is the best part of the movie? But the one thing you all want to know is, how are all the Colosseum fights compared to the first movie? They're actually fucking insane. How in the first film the craziest thing they did was fight tigers, here they fight baboons, men on rhinos, and there's even one scene where they fill up the Colosseum with water and they have to fight sharks. The movie can be kind of bad shit and I'm all here for it. But the best fight for me was definitely the one that's been in all the advertisements, and in case you don't know, I'm not going to mention what it is, but the way it is set up is just freaking perfect. And honestly, I prefer the climax here more than the one in the original. Yes, the original's ending is great and wraps up everything perfectly, but I just enjoyed this ending more, and that's probably because of how much more action heavy it is in the original. Really, one of my only flaws is that it does have some pacing issues at a few points, and some of the CGI also is not the greatest, especially when it comes to all the CGI animals, which can look very distracting, mostly because of the kind of movie they're in, and the fact that some of them just look straight up cartoony. And despite really digging the hell out of this movie, I still agree that it's not one that really needed to exist for any reason. But at the same time, I'm kind of glad that it does, because not only is this one of the biggest surprises of the year, but it's definitely the best Ridley Scott movie in years. Oh wait, he did do The Last Duel. Okay, so while that movie is technically better, I think Gladiator II definitely has more rewatchability. If you're a fan of the first Gladiator film, this is definitely worth checking out. My only suggestion though is that do not go in expecting the first film, because if you do that, then you'll get a lot more enjoyment out of it. And even if you haven't seen the original, I still highly recommend it, but at the same time, I'd still watch the original first, just so you get more of the impact that Maximus had on these people. I had a much better time with this movie than I ever expected, and I hope you go check it out this weekend. I'm also guessing that if you're not a fan of musicals, you've already made your choice to go see this. I'm gonna give Gladiator 2 an A-. Also, I just gotta say it, I hope you guys really appreciate what I do for you, because I almost died going to see this fucking movie, because Monday night, it was pouring like fucking crazy, to the point where I could not see a goddamn thing. My closest Regal is a half hour away, and I was already like halfway there, and I'm like, I'm going to die, I'm going to die, I'm going to fucking die going to see this movie. If it is not Gladiator 2, I'm going to be freaking furious. But then it was Gladiator 2, so in the end, fucking worth it. Also, on top of that, it stopped raining after I got out of the movie, so win-win for me. Thanks so much for watching, you guys. Subscribe to my channel, like this video, turn the notification bell, and while you're at it, go follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Trev's Movies, and I'll be back later with more reviews, and I'll see you then.